Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to join my other colleagues who asked you for this hearing, and I appreciate you doing it so quickly as well. Bernie Madoff is probably the most visible and incredible example of a calamitous failure of the federal government's responsibility and its regulatory agencies to oversee the market, and we've had some of those hearings in the Banking Committee. The failures of regulators to detect his crimes are pretty outstanding, and we're left with the aftermath of personal tragedies for people who have had their entire life and their nest eggs become empty shells and face some real difficult choices in their lives. So I appreciate, Commissioner, the guidance that you're issuing today. I want to follow up with one or two questions to hopefully you'll have the answers, and if not, we'll hear it subsequently. Just to follow up on Senator Schumer's question, according to your guidance, victims of the Madoff scandal who invested through feeder funds have to wait for those funds to file their tax returns and distribute the proceeds from the Securities Investor Protection Corporation payments and the deductions proportionately. Now, these leaves a lot of these victims, many of whom had no idea that they were even invested with Madoff at the mercy of the prompt action of their funds. I know you said you had a meeting with the head of the SIPC. Is the IRS going to appropriately monitor the distribution of these proceeds through the feeder funds to ensure individual victims receive a timely and accurate payment from the funds?
Senator, we're pretty focused on this issue of direct investors, indirect investors, feeder funds. What I would say is we didn't make up any new law in putting out this guidance. We did our best interpretation of existing law. The way that any investor in any kind of loss through a fund gets that is usually through their K-1. And so it's really going to be up to the direct investor to claim this deduction and then flow through to their partners or whoever else is, however it was structured, LLC, partnership, the losses. And so if you invested in a partnership that then invested in Madoff, the only way you're going to know what the gains were in that partnership for other investments, what the other losses were, and what the Madoff issues were is waiting to get that partnership return through your K-1. They should, what we'll be doing is making sure that the loss is appropriate for the actual partnership when they file it to us. And so I'm not sure if I answered your question, but the bottom line is that's how they'll get it.
While they have to wait for the feeder funds to do their work and their reporting, that they're left out there waiting. So it's going to depend upon the diligence of the feeder funds at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I mean, I think there's no other way in any sort of partnership that you can file a tax return. You got to know what the partnership has.
We'll have to look at how those feeder
we'd be
funds
happy to look at it and talk with your office.
Let me ask you, in terms of documentation of losses, what's going to be considered proper documentation to establish losses? Particularly, I know that you're generally looking at Ponzi schemes in general, but due to the Madoff fraud, for example, is the IRS going to permit those who were feeder group victims to establish that they incurred losses by the use of statements and other documentations that they received from the feeder group?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, in general, yes. I mean, this is general guidance, but in the Madoff case, we anticipate statements are good enough because people actually, they got this phantom income, they paid taxes on it. The idea is you can now get a deduction for it.
Let me ask you, in our letter to you, we asked whether or not you're going to establish a special unit to process claims related to the Madoff fraud and similar fraud, simply because of the efficiency and the size of this particular Ponzi scheme. Is that something that you're contemplating, the agency?
What we've done, across the board, we've taken a look at this very significant economic downturn that we're in, and everything from NOL carrybacks for small businesses to individuals in hardship situations to those who have Ponzi schemes, made sure that we've got streamlined processes to take care of it. And so what we've done is we already have units that can take care of this. You'll notice that there's going to be a special form if you're looking to operate under the safe harbor. So you'll self-identify that you're a victim of a Ponzi scheme, and those returns will be handled, appropriately and expeditiously.
Okay. I have other questions. I'll submit them for the record. One of them is about how we treat IRAs, particularly certain types of IRAs of individuals who got invested in Madoff unknowingly that they were invested there, and how those are going to be treated. Thank you, Mr.